right, welcome in. Tuesday evening, the Questionable Podcast. You got Scotty Questions here with Meko.
What's good, man?
And Gionne.
How's it going?
Oh, okay. Not a lot of pause there, but I think the internet kind of. I thought he was waiting.
Yeah, the internet tripped him up on the.
So we heard you we didn't really hear you. We're like, oh, he's just pausing. No, he actually responded. So Gionne, we're about to get Snowmageddon here. How is LA treating you? How's the weather there? A cool 50.
I don't know if I should say.
What is it?
It's like 60. Isn't it?
Yeah, it's
right.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like
all
65,
right. Well,
70 and sunny.
Yeah, we're trying to get in and out of the podcast tonight to get Meko home before the rain starts coming down. Rain, sleet, snow. Anyway, welcome in another Tuesday night. We have a ton to talk about. We're going to talk wings and we're going to talk a lot of football.
Yeah.
So we're going to jump right in and we're going to talk about the Red Wings, who are having a little back and forth here. Since our last podcast, they've lost to the Blackhawks 8-5. They beat the Pittsburgh Penguins in overtime and shootout. Congrats to them. Penguins, good team. They won 3-2 there. Then they lost to the Maple Leafs the next night. They had back-to-back. They lost 7-4. They were up 4-2. Then ended up losing 7-4, which we'll talk about. And then we just beat the Ducks last night 2-1. So John and I were texting about this. It's a lot of back and forth. The Wings have been good at home, but what's happening now is they're really not having good third periods. They're not closing out games, right? Sign of a young team. They can't close out games. So this is something that I want to talk about. I want to kind of just, throw around a little bit before we get into the football. I think the Wings, again, are headed in the right direction, right? We got Moritz Seider and Lucas Raymond still top 3 for rookie in points, which is amazing. So congrats on our organization leadership getting the right guys, And Moritz Seider, I believe, John, you were saying he's about to break the record for most points in a season.
Oh, so sorry. No, not break the record. He's about to go into third with 2 more assists. He has
the Wings record.
He will go into third all-time Red Wings history for most assists in a season, just period. And he's a rookie. So he will go into third he's at 25 now, and 25. Vladimir Konstantinov's at 26. So if he gets to 27, he will pass Vladimir Konstantinov, and he will be in third place for most assists all time in a single season. Nick Lidstrom. So just to give you context here of how incredible Nick Lidstrom is, it's pretty much like 23, 24, 25. If Seider can get to 27, he'll be third. Nick Lidstrom is in first place at 49.
Now, but Moritz Seider, he's on track though to get close to that. I don't think he'll break it, but he can get in the 40s, maybe.
So he can probably be second all time then
for the Wings. Samsonite. I was way off. Right defensive points. Rah. Okay, great way to go, Scott. Anyway, so we have hit the lottery with Moritz and Lucas. So that's great. But the big thing I think that I want to touch on is the team not being able to close out games. The best example of that is the Maple Leafs game. They were up 4-2. They had a great second period. They were, let me hit my notes real quick. I couldn't have enough nice things to say in my notes. And I think I jinxed them in going through the notes when you guys were like, I was live updating the notes, watch this game. I'm like, oh my gosh, like Seider is nasty. So I do love Moritz Seider was getting in Crosby's face, and that's the way to beat Pittsburgh. I mean, Crosby is still good, and you got to think about that guy. He's one concussion away from like never playing again. Yeah, actually almost not being a vegetable, but if he's one more concussion away from being seriously like brain injury. Yeah. And this is like 8-10 years ago when Higbee knew the doctor for Crosby. He was telling me this. So it's been a long time he's actually got through that. So I'm impressed he's even playing. But Pittsburgh is still a really good team. And so, Moritz Seider in their face. We were in Pittsburgh, and we won that game. That was a really big win. And then the next night, we play the Maple Leafs. So we won an overtime shootout against Pittsburgh. We were up. They came back and scored to take it to overtime, but we took it to a shootout, and we won. And I like that we're winning shootouts. That's really hard to do, is win in shootouts. And we are good. Yeah. Like Raymond is really good. We got really talented guys for that. So that was awesome. Just a couple of notes from there is that oh my God, Mar thinks that Yzerman had Botox in his forehead because it wasn't moving. That was really funny. I'm like, dude, he just looks like he got out of the gym, Mar. He just was, he's working out. I can see Yzerman. He's so smooth. He's like in and out of the gym, just like throwing on like, oh, y'all interview. Because they were interviewing in between periods about what he's doing and what he's looking for. And it was really, he has a clip of him speaking about the young guys. And he talking about telling them to watch the Crosbys and Ovechkins because those guys are getting older. We think about those guys coming in the league. I mean, right now it's Lucas Raymond and Maurice Seider are the new young guys coming in, which is great to see. But, having Yzerman say to watch the Crosbys and Ovechkins was interesting. And Yzerman did get to play one season against Crosby, his last season, which was interesting too. I didn't know that they crossed over.
I didn't know that either. But I am with Mara on this one. I think I'm going to go ahead and say he's had a little
work done. Yeah. So you guys are probably right. I was like, no way. These hockey guys.
Listen, when you make that much money,
that's what Mara said. Like he's in this for sure. He's in the spot. What are you talking about?
Constantly on TV. Like, you.
And so speaking of looks, Bertuzzi's hair is epic right now. I just got my mullet trimmed, but like his hair is flowing. It's coming out the side of his helmet like sideways. it's really gotten there. And I love watching him fly down. It's like these giant locks. He might not cut it. He should have it go all the way down. Just keep it growing.
Yes.
But
like
anyway,
Yager, like remember like you couldn't read his name on his jersey because his hair was
Yager. Yes. John was a Yager fan growing up, I believe.
I was a Penguins fan. I got family out there. So.
Right, in the Berg.
Mm-hmm.
So my biggest takeaway from that game against the Penguins, which is a top 5, top 10 team, is that Maurice Seider is nasty. He has a little bit of Konstantinov in him. Like he's not gonna back down. Like he was in Crosby's face. Like Crosby pushed him in his face. And then one of the bigger guys from Pittsburgh came up and tried to push Maurice, and he pushed him out of the way, knocked him over with one hand, and then grabbed Crosby in his face and knocked him down. And I'm like, dude, this is a rookie. Like, what is he going to be 5 years from now? Oh, like that's.
And for our listeners who don't know, he's 6'5".
I was gonna say, like, isn't he like 6'6", 6'5"?
But he's skinny. He's not built yet. That's what I'm saying. 5 years, get him in the.
I was gonna say 6'5" is 6'5", bro. Like,
but everyone's on skates
and on skates, and he can shoot, pass, and score with the. I mean, he's talented. I'm very excited to see him, continue to grow with the Wings. So anyway, saying that. That was a fun game to watch. Larkin looked good. Everybody looked pretty solid. They had it together in a hostile environment, right? Crosby is a cherry picker. He's always been. I've never been a Crosby fan, but anyway. So having said that, that game we won. Then we play the next night at home against the Maple Leafs, which are a slightly better team than us, right? We're middle of the pack. We're 500 in the NHL in our division. And so the Maple Leafs are better. But we showed up in the first and second. We look good. We're 4-2, looking good. Second period, you're like, okay, let's go. Like, let's do this. Third period starts, okay, a little bit slow. And then we just fell apart. Yeah, John, go ahead.
5 goals in the third period.
Yeah.
Allowed.
Well, yeah, that's
two were empty net. But,
2 were empty nets, right? So, but regardless, you got to learn how to keep the lead, right? You got to learn how to close games out. Now, I think that what started that sequence of events was a really great play by the Maple Leafs. This is when John and I started texting. They just got it. The Maple Leafs got it going. The Wings get it 5-2. Okay, you probably can win that game, even if they got to score 3. But when they score, it's 4-3. They get the momentum. Then it's 4-4. And I was like, at that point, I knew, okay, they're going to come back. Fine, let's take it to overtime. But they kept scoring. We couldn't stop them.
Yeah.
So next thing I know, we're down 5-4, 2 minutes. I'm like, oh no. So at that point, it was over, right? I'm like, okay, that's just unfortunate. Now, again, I think this is coaching. I go back to Blashill and coaching. I think that coaching, he has to do something with these guys to get them ready for this and to practice and get them in the right mental headspace to do this. That's why I don't think Blashill's the guy. He does, he says it's a young team, and it is a young team. And you guys I'd love your opinion, But I think Blashill needs to do a better job in getting these guys prepared to do this. He's going to leave it up to the guys, and it is up to the team. But the coaches can make plays. The coach can change up the lines, right? Was he changing the lines the right way? I don't think so. He could have changed stuff up. He could have changed up the defensive pairings. He could have done a lot of things. He could have taken another timeout. In my opinion, I just think that, that was a game we shouldn't have lost. So,
right.
So, John, I know you had some thoughts about this, and Meko probably has some questions. So I welcome those.
Yeah, John, you can go ahead first because,
I'm with you on the fact that it's coaching. Just thinking about it now, Blashill saying that this is a young team. I think that's a total cop out because you didn't hear Aaron Glenn up on the podium being like, well, we're starting 2 undrafted free agents and AJ Parker and Bobby Price. Like, no, those guys, he got those guys playing well. He schemed, he knew what he had, and they drew up a scheme or a system or game plan for the fact that they have 2 UDFAs playing cornerback. Like, that's your job as coach, to assess what you have and mitigate your weaknesses and leverage your strengths. That's, I think, like, that really, when you break it down, whether you're coaching baseball, basketball, hockey, football, soccer, it doesn't matter. Like, that's your job as a coach, to take stock of what you have, mitigate the weaknesses, leverage the strengths.
I agree.
And the fact that he's up there saying, oh, well, we have a young team, like, yes, you do. Yes, you do. But that's your job.
hey, Blashill.
Blow out your rear end.
Can I push back on that a little bit?
Sure.
And this is
little, not much though.
Because I agree that, like, yes, it is a coach's job to assess his talent and to make the necessary adjustments. The reason I would, and it's more so the analogy, right, of comparing what Aaron Glenn did with his undrafted free agents and what Blashill is doing with the Wings. When the Lions did get blown out, though, right? Like, no, he didn't say it every week, but when the Lions lost and it was on the defense, those excuses came up, right?
That's
it was
fair.
quickly brought up. Of like, hey, we have undrafted free agents, we have young guys, we have, we're dealing with injuries. Like, it was a quick reminder to people, this is what's happening. I don't think there's anything wrong when, again, if your defense wasn't supposed to be a strength, if the Wings went into the season and their defense was supposed to be a strength and this stuff was happening, then yes, I think it's fair game to criticize the coach, because it's like, well, hey, this is what we expected you to be best at, or we expect this to be a better quality of the team, and you guys aren't living up to the standard. But if it is a young team, and if you're, Scott, one thing that you have been preaching is like, hey, they're going to need to learn how to win. They're going to need to learn how to do these things.
Yeah, they got to learn how to close out games.
To me, this is like, it's a disgusting bump in the road, but it is. I think that's how
part of it.
Yeah, it's like, no.
Fair.
Does anybody want to see their team give up 5 goals? No, right? Nobody would want to see nobody would want to see the Lions give up 5 touchdowns in a quarter. But if you understand, well, hey, this team is rebuilding, this type of stuff shouldn't happen. If it was happening all season, then I think you guys would have a great point here about Blashill's not making the right adjustments.
On the road, it's been happening.
Yeah, but you've also said that that's also a struggle.
Young team
team
traveling. Yep.
So it's like, I feel like, this is a young team. That they're going to struggle like this. You just don't want to see it happen, maybe to certain extremes that it's happening and in certain situations.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Because I get really high when they have a great game, like against the Penguins, right? Mm-hmm. And we win in overtime against a top team. That's who we can be.
Yeah.
And again, you have to say and acknowledge it was a back-to-back, right? They were on the road, then they were at home play the next night.
Mm-hmm.
They got through 2 periods. In that third period, maybe they were gassed, right?
Yeah.
Well, you could argue that they were gassed, and that's why they fell apart, right? It's 6 periods in 48 hours. That's a lot. That's hard. Hockey's hard.
Yeah.
Hockey's hard. You get winded. That's why your shifts are 30 seconds. You know what I mean? Like, that's so that's fair, Meko. I'll give you that. And again, I'm not a Blashill fan, so I love laying it at his feet. Like, I really do. Like, I just do. Because it's just more fodder for me to get a new coach, or for us to get a new coach. I just don't think he's the guy. Right. I really don't. And he could prove me wrong, right? He could prove me wrong, and we can have this conversation. I don't think he's the guy. I think McCarty can't say he's not he can't say that, and I think he knows it. Right. He stops himself on Woodward Sports. He stops himself, but I think that he's, that's where I go with it. So I always will lean that way to protect the players. Like, no, it's him. Like, get him. Get him out, reset the team. I mean, because think about it. These guys are going through growing pains. Young guys, you got to keep their confidence up to keep them, because they're young guys, young millennials, right? We're talking about Dan Campbell and the type of coaches you're going to have for these young players. Yeah. Even though it's hockey, you can be hard on them, but you're going to have to be supportive too. John?
So I'm so glad you brought it back to Dan Campbell, because that's exactly where I was going. Like, Scott, do you see, before the show, I talked about like the peaks and the troughs of play, because in the last two games that I watched, I really saw, at times they looked so sharp and they were skating hard and going into the corners, and the passes looked crisp, and they were playing a great game of possession hockey. And then it would just something would happen, and it would just be they'd be flat, they'd be slow, lethargic. So that's, I guess, why I just immediately pinned it on the coaches, because if you got peaks and valleys, it's a much more fluid game than football. So coach's job to manage those line changes. Do you think he's doing enough to sort of, as I said, like mitigate those differences in the line? Like, and why I said I'm glad you brought it back to Dan Campbell is like, when we were saying he's in danger of losing the locker room, right? That was the Rams game was next. And then we saw fake punt, onside kick in the first quarter. Like, to show his guys, like, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to keep us in the game, and to keep us in the game is to keep the other team guessing. And so, like, I think that was a show of good faith from Dan Campbell to the players to say, like, I'm going to do whatever it takes. It doesn't matter if I look stupid or crazy or whatever. That is, do you see even an iota of that from Blashill?
Wow. So I'm trying to take my emotions out of this, right?
It's good. It's great. Yeah.
I'm trying.
Be fair.
So I do see a little bit of it, but I think he could do better. Okay. Right. Yeah. I think he, to me, he looks tired. Like, he looks tired and annoyed of this. Right. Well, so it's almost like you need a new like attitude in the room. I just, whenever I see him interviewing, like, the young guys, and he does keep going to that well. And I get it. They're young guys, but like, you can change the lines up. You can, so I think that's fair. I think he's doing the best with what he has. And also when I mean with what he has is in his coaching toolbox, because he has only been an NHL head coach for the Wings. He was a head coach for the Grand Rapids Griffins for years before, and he won championships with them. But this is his only job he's had at the NHL level. And so I think that there are coaches out there that have more in their toolbox to do and to grow a team like this.
Well, and I'm glad you said that, because, and that's why I said, like, be fair.
I think that's fair.
Well, and that's why I said, be fair, because in comparison, the other coach that he shares that building with is somebody that I would say that is not, or it took forever to make those adjustments. That was literally just letting his team go out there and be quote unquote young and not seeing any types of like success. And I mean that in Dwayne Casey. So
in the Pistons. Yeah.
And the reason that's a damning quality to Dwayne Casey is that he is an established coach. He has taken teams to the playoffs. He has.
That's even worse. So that's even worse. And so, I'm with you on that.
So that's why I would say, like, is it ideal? No, but I think Yzerman is going to do the right thing. I think he's going to properly evaluate what Blashill is doing. And then, if it gets to the end of the season, I mean, I still think the Wings are performing really, really well. I think they're performing above where we thought they would perform.
They're 500.
Yeah. And I think when you're coming off a draft where you were, drafting pretty high and getting, you're playing young guys and things like that.
It's fair.
You're seeing a lot of potential, right? You're seeing a lot of the things that you want to see, at least in the foundation of a rebuild. That's why they kind of do resemble aspects of the Lions where you're like, okay, I can see the foundation pieces, right? I can see that, okay, right. The Delkovich may be, the goalie of the future. You have Mo Sider, you have Lucas Raymond, you have Larkin, you have Bertuzzi, you have a couple guys coming off into different line shifts and things like that, where you're like, okay, if they can start to build some type of cohesion together, if they can start to get that in-game experience together, and maybe you add a veteran piece here or there later down the road, then maybe this team can really start to make some noise. But I get what you're saying where you're both saying, you know, Blashill probably could do better though, right? But again, I think that's a good point though, of like his toolbox is a little limited. So I don't know, maybe you have him shake up his coaching staff and maybe get some other veteran guys to come in there that'll challenge him and help him along the way so that he can probably get a few more skill sets and coaching tips to get the most out of this team or to be able to take them to that next level.
And so it's go ahead, John.
I was just going to say it's pleases me that Scott, you said, I mean, I did talk to my dad. My dad's been calling me ever since, now that he knows that I watch the Red Wings and that, like, I check up on him. He calls me,
and that he's on the pod. Is he listened?
He's a recurring character.
Is he a subscriber yet, Dr. Tom?
Not. No, I don't think he knows how to get podcasts on his phone.
Oh, okay.
They're there. But he did say, he said something very similar, but in a different way than what you just said. He said, he goes, Blashill is a fantastic development league coach. And that's evidenced by the championships he's won with the Griffins. No one can take that away from him. But in dealing with, he's like, I really think he's struggled in coaching elite all caps athletes. He's like, I think you saw that when he first came to the league, you had like Datsuk. I mean, he's like, you know, my dad's like, what is Blashill going to tell Datsuk? And like,
or Zetterberg, even Zetterberg,
or you know, Zetterberg's like the team that he had when he first came on board. And I think, you know, some of those bumps have been smoothed out, but I think my dad and you are kind of saying the same thing, is that he's a great coach, but he kind of may, and I think we're finding this out, that he has a hard ceiling. And I think we very well may be witnessing his ceiling.
I agree. And so to add on to this, that's perfect, John, because I'm headed to say why Yzerman hired Lindstrom. And so this is that Lindstrom to me is going to be the guy to connect the dots from Blashill to our next coach. Lindstrom's the guy that's going to come in and assess the players and probably work with the coach and how best to utilize and play these guys. However, Yzerman and Lindstrom see fit, right? Yzerman's out here doing the GM thing. And like I said, he can't be everywhere at once, right? So Lindstrom could be his feet on the ground in the locker room of how the guys are, attitude, what they're doing. Like, he can't be in the room, but Nick Lindstrom can. And he can assess the players, and he can break down for Stevie and for the coach and for what they're doing and how to do it and what they want to do as a group.
That's a really
because I think Yzerman probably has in his mind the way in which he wants to see the team play.
Right.
Because he probably thinks this is the way which we can win, and I want us to go this way. I don't know that Blashill's the guy to get us there, like we talked about. Maybe it's the ceiling, the toolbox, whatever. Or they're bringing in Lindstrom to help Blashill, and we keep Blashill, right? There's that thought, too, of we keep him. He's here. He's okay. He's our guy. We're going to keep him within the family. Right. Either goes back to the Griffins or we keep him up there. I don't know that he goes anywhere else, but I'm not sure. So I think Lindstrom coming in is a pressure valve for that. That's what I think that is. It's a fresh face, a positive attitude guy, a consummate leader of men, hockey player. Like, you know, John, like you said, I mean, 49 assists in a season. I mean, the guy is an all-star, all-timer. And so I think that bringing him in, again, is building up the roster for Yzerman and leaders, all the guys that want, right? Mac and Draper and, you know, but I could see, and I would love this. This is who I want to coach. I want Igor Larionov to be our coach.
Oh, the professor.
The professor. Igor Larionov came on that team before they started winning, and he was the guy that was like, he was playing chess and everybody's playing hockey.
Yeah.
And so to me, and he has been coaching. I don't know if he's coaching his son's team or what, but I think that guy, and maybe this could be when you're bringing that team back, that would be an amazing. You get that guy. So then you have everybody from the team, from GM to head coach, on the same page, that played on the same team, that won the cups together.
Right.
To me, that I got goosebumps just thinking about it, because to me that would be a great story, and it would be a consistent message. They were on the same team, saying the same things in the same locker room for years.
Right.
So they would be saying the same thing. They're not going to change the way they think about hockey. And that's the thing about hockey too, is it doesn't change as much as like NFL's changed. Yeah. Right. Hockey, some rules change, but hockey is still hockey. Yeah. In my opinion. But that's what I want to see. I want to see Igor Larionov as our head coach.
Goosebumps. Awesome. You said it, man. Goosebumps. That's so great.
You heard it here first, the Questionable Podcast. So when he is head coach, we'll run it back in 2 years.
Throw ourselves a parade.
Yeah, right. Okay, that was a great wrap around. Wrap around on the hockey there. Yeah,
scored something completely different when you said wrap around.
Yeah, I was
a wrap around goal, guys. Okay, jeez,
took a second. That was my second level. Yeah.
Oh, geez. Anyway, so we covered the wings. I want to jump into breaking news from today. This afternoon, Brian Flores is suing the NFL, the Giants, and the Dolphins. Meko, I know you've read up on this. I want to talk about this. This is a huge deal. This is about race in the NFL. Yeah. And discrimination and head coaching, in coaching and management in the NFL. So what happened today, Meko?
Yeah. So basically what you said, right? So Brian Flores filed a lawsuit against the NFL, the Dolphins, the Giants, and the Broncos, basically claiming that he was that there was basically some forms of racism within his hiring process as well as his firing from the Dolphins. He has he has some evidence, at least when it comes to the Giants. In that situation, he was supposed to interview with the Giants on Thursday. He was texting back and forth with Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick congratulates him on getting the Giants job. And he's like, hey, I haven't interviewed yet. I don't interview until Thursday.
Right.
And Bill Belichick essentially is like, no. From what I hear, you got the job. They want you, yada, yada, yada. And then Brian Flores essentially just like, hey, are you talking about the right Brian? Essentially, like, are you meaning to talk about Brian Flores or Brian Dable?
Yeah, he goes Brian Dable or Brian Flores.
And Bill Belichick has to kind of come clean, like, oh, I messed this up.
He goes, oh, fuck. He goes, oh, I fucked this up.
Yeah, because he meant to text Brian Dable congratulations, because essentially,
whoops, Textgate.
The way this looks is that the Giants basically had already decided that they were going to hire Brian Dable
before Flores was even interviewed.
Before he was even interviewed. And the reason this is a big deal is for a number of reasons, right? The first reason is the Rooney Rule, which is in effect in the NFL.
Meko, what is the Rooney Rule?
So the Rooney Rule basically constitutes that whenever an opening opens up for any NFL team, before that team can make an official hire, they are at least encouraged or required, not encouraged. They are required to interview one minority. Or at least it used to be one minority. It has now been changed to two. You're required to interview two minorities before you make an official hire. I don't know if the Giants had necessarily done their two minority interviews, but Brian Flores was coming in.
Clearly, he was one of the
two. And the way this now looks to him, and I think to a lot of people, is that, well, the Giants were simply just going through the motions.
Yep.
And the reason why this is a big deal to me.
Yeah, like tell me you're not going through the motions. If you've made up your mind, why am I coming to interview?
Exactly. And the reason why this is a big deal to me, when Brian Flores was first fired from the Miami Dolphins, we were all in a text together and I said, oh, he's not going to be without a job long. Like, he's going to be one of the most sought after coaches because he was coming off of back-to-back winning seasons.
And we agreed with you. I think everybody was on the same page. Yeah.
And especially this season where they had a stretch where they had lost a lot of games and then he basically like got them winning. I think they won like 7 straight or something like that. So my interpretation was like, okay, Miami's being stupid, but the right team is going to pick this guy up because nobody lets a coach go that was turning around an organization like Miami was. To get to the point where we are right now in the offseason where there is currently, it sounds like there's only one NFL head coaching position open right now, and that would be the New Orleans Saints, because it sounds like Minnesota's probably going to hire Jim Harbaugh,
which is ridiculous.
The fact that Brian Flores is not a head coach somewhere is a travesty, and it shines a light directly in the face of what this is in the NFL, which is a race issue. It is a serious problem where you are not able to, for some reason or another, teams are not feeling like they should or want to hire minority coaches. right? There is one black head coach in the NFL right now, and that's Mike Tomlin. And Mike Tomlin has been with the Pittsburgh Steelers for as long as I can remember at this point. And
15
so
years.
Yeah, so it is a serious problem, and it was something that I was kind of keeping tabs on, like while like the coaching carousel was going on, because like Jim Caldwell's name was getting thrown out there,
right?
Eric Bieniemy's name gets thrown out there a lot. D'Amico Ryan's name was getting thrown out there.
D'Amico
for the defensive coordinator for the 49ers. Like, so there were some black coaches in the mix. Aaron Glenn's name was out there. Deuce Staley's name was out there, and for not one of these men to get one of these positions. And it's like, it's becoming harder and harder to not think that race plays a role in this when you look at the guys that are getting hired instead of them, right? Nathaniel Hackett gets hired for the Denver Broncos job. He is not any more qualified to be the head coach of the Denver Broncos than Brian Flores or Jim Caldwell or Eric Bieniemy.
Well, I think he is less qualified than Brian Flores.
Right.
Right. I mean, who else is less qualified than Brian Flores? He's had how many years in Miami?
I believe he was there for 4.
Okay, 4. And by the way, sidebar, was it the GM?
Yeah.
GM bribing Flores for losses.
Or no, the owner.
The owner was bribing Flores $100,000 per loss in 2019 to get a better draft pick.
Yeah.
Sorry, let's just lob that in there, throw that in there too.
So it just shows, and that even being right now, it's speculation, right? But for that to even be out there is
I think that's probably true.
I mean, it probably is. I believe that it's true.
Yeah, that's probably true.
I can't even think of the words to describe like how infuriating that is, because again, it's already hard enough to get minorities hired into coaching positions. You are now asking one of 2 to purposely throw games and then expect you not to fire him. Because if you fire him and Brian Flores has his what incentive?
What did you think was going to happen?
Right.
You're going to fire him and you didn't think this was going to come out?
And then there's there's also speculation from the Miami Dolphins that they wanted him to illegally tamper with the free agency period to get them a specific quarterback to come to the Miami Dolphins, which is now being speculated that quarterback was Tom Brady, that they wanted him to kind of like grease the wheels for Tom Brady to come down to Miami and play for the Dolphins. Again, I'm struggling to find the adjectives to describe like my just disdain for this entire process, because just being blunt and honest, if this was a white coach, right? Like, I feel like if Brian Flores had went through with this, with the tampering or losing games on purpose, there wouldn't be any type of like feeling of like severe loss or any type of severe risk.
Right.
Because again, white coaches are hired at a much higher clip than African-American coaches are. But for Brian Flores to even be offered that, he like, and good for him to know like, yo, this is, I can't afford a stain like this on my record. If I were to get caught, if this were to come out, I can't afford to even entertain this. Like, that would have destroyed him. Brian Flores would never coach again if he had went through with any of those things and that had come out. We would never see Brian Flores coach again.
No.
And so I am glad that this lawsuit is happening. I don't know if he's going to win anything, but I think the best thing that is going to come about from this lawsuit is that it's going to cause conversations to happen. And it needs to be active, progressing conversations about how do we fix a sport where over 70% of the players are African-American.
Right. I was going to ask numbers. Yeah.
And yet over 90% of managerial positions are occupied by, white men or women.
And so on top of this, Meko, I can feel your frustration, right? Your frustration, your disappointment, your anger a little bit. How do you, like, I guess, are you angry? Like, is it just like,
it's
another thing?
It's annoying. because like, yeah, to your point,
disappointing more. I'm not trying to put where I'm just trying to.
Yeah, I think it's I am. I'm working through it because like it's frustrating. It's annoying. That's why I say I can't really necessarily pinpoint one adjective because it is all of these things because it's like every time you think that we're taking steps in the right direction towards equality or to being treated fairly or because again,
look at Colin Kaepernick. He's still not. I mean, they didn't do anything with it. I mean, that wasn't fixed.
Right. Whether it's Colin Kaepernick, whether it's again,
I just don't know what they're going to do here. I just if the NFL gets away with it, that's what my fear is, right? If the NFL gets away with this,
right,
I feel like that, like there's a chance they could. If they do, like what now? Like then, like how do we deal with that, right? Like I think that we have to do something. This is getting absurd, becoming absurd.
Well, it's been absurd for a while, and I think the thing that is like
that's true.
It's becoming almost in a form like you start to feel somewhat helpless, right? And again, this lawsuit is going to help rally some people together to start getting conversations had, but it's like it becomes a situation of and I sent you guys a clip from Emmanuel Acho where he kind of breaks down why he believes this is happening.
There were two reasons he talks about, right?
He talks about nepotism and John, the other word,
cronyism. I got it.
Like if you're listening to the podcast or if you're watching the podcast, like go look those two words up or go out, we'll find
cronyism from cronies. You got it. I ask about that one.
Yeah. Cronyism is essentially the practice of like basically doing things for your friends, and then nepotism, basically the practice of doing things for your family. And Emmanuel Acho does an amazing job of explaining why he believes these two things play a huge role into why the dynamics of the NFL are the way they are. But the reason it starts to feel helpless is because this becomes a personal preference thing or a when it comes to systemic racism in a situation like this, it's really difficult to start to try to figure out how you're going to change people's perception, how they've always done things for years. The NFL has been around for a long time, and things have been done this way for years. And it's really hard to go into any NFL franchise and tell somebody you have to hire an African-American, right? Because even if they start doing that, this is my opinion, right?
Yeah.
I believe even if they started doing that, even if you made teams, if this blows up really, really big and it becomes this whole scandal and teams start going out and being more purposeful for hiring African-Americans, I still feel like there's going to be in the back of some of those coaches' mind of, is this legitimate though? Or are they just doing this?
Right. Did I really get the job?
Right. Or are they only doing this to pacify the masses and they don't really think I can do this job well?
Well, to your point of that, I mean, how many times does like a Deuce Staley feel like he was just called in because of the Rooney Rule?
Right.
Leaving the room. Like how many times, like if I was Deuce Staley just getting called in, being super excited, going to a meeting, like in New Orleans, and then leaving, be like, I clearly didn't connect with them and they just had me in.
Well, I think Aaron Glenn is a really good example because I think John, you and I were like really going back and forth about the possibility of the Lions losing Aaron Glenn. But again, this is the cynicism in me that I started to take a step back, and it's like, okay, but realistically, would you go out of your way to hire an African-American coach that just, even though he had that defense playing to a higher level, they still were 3-13-1?
Agree, but Brian Flores should have a job somewhere and he doesn't. So I would say I get your point there. I was trying to make the connection of somebody who doesn't, who's getting their first shot. They think they are and they're not.
Yeah.
Right. Brian Flores deserves a job. He deserves a head coaching job.
Absolutely.
He's done an amazing job with the Dolphins.
Absolutely.
And so I just, to me, I'm shocked he doesn't have a job. I think that this is the right thing to do for him to call out the NFL and call out everything that's going on and what has happened there.
Yeah.
I think that he has to, because even if it did leak, he didn't do anything. Even if it does leak and he doesn't control the narrative, who knows?
Right.
And, this really sucks. After such a good season of great games.
Yes.
I thought the NFL did a really good job with everything this season. And this is just
Well, especially last year, right? Well, last year where they did a lot of like the end racism things, and they were very proactive in trying to be partners of minority communities and things like that. And I don't get me wrong, I am not saying that in every situation that
they are still doing that, correct?
Right.
I mean, they're still doing that, engaging in that. They haven't stopped, but
and I think it's important for me to kind of point this out too, right? That while I do believe that Brian Flores is right, that there is some level of race that played into his hiring and firing and things of that nature, there is a difference between systemic racism and people just being outright racist, right? I do not believe that Brian Flores was outright fired because he was a black coach, right? I also don't believe that he was not given a job just because he was a black coach. But I think because of the way systemic racism works, it is simply like you are trained, your mind is essentially trained to look and perceive things a certain way. And it's not necessarily that you're like, oh, that's a black man, I'm not going to hire him. It's just you are almost in a way conditioned to look and point out certain traits. And when you don't feel like those traits match somebody's, ethnicity, then it's like, well, that person's already discounted, right? I was watching something on ESPN where they were kind of talking about this dynamic, and they were saying there was a time when black coaches weren't being hired because they were not seen as offensive minded. Right, that they weren't good offensive minds. And so you didn't see a lot of head coaches being hired because if you couldn't be a good offensive mind, then they weren't going to hire you. Well, now you're starting to see other people get hired that are defensive minded. The Bears just hired a defensive minded coach.
Right.
But yet Aaron Glenn or Brian Flores, like what makes them less qualified? So
Bieniemy.
Or Bieniemy, right?
How does he not have a job yet either? So
I say all that to say, like, again, I'm happy that this is happening. I'm happy that these conversations will start happening because they need to happen. They should have been happening.
I mean, it sucks that it's happening.
It sucks that it's happening this way. It sucks that it's happening this way.
Thank you.
Yes. But these are conversations that need to happen. And sometimes you need difficult circumstances to be the soil that you kind of dig into to start planting and growing something new. And hopefully that's what happens. I'm just hoping that everything goes smoothly. I think everything that needs to come to light should come to light, and that we do get the truth on what happened in this situation. One other thing that I saw in some of the paperwork for the lawsuit, this isn't just about Brian Flores, right? He does draw attention to other coaches. He draws attention to Jim Caldwell and his time here, of how he had back-to-back winning seasons and then was unceremoniously let go from his position and hasn't received another head coaching job since then. So there's a lot of things that this is going to trickle down into, and I'm very interested in seeing, like I said, the conversations that kind of spark up from this.
I don't know how
it definitely doesn't look good. It definitely doesn't look good for the NFL to come off of what happened with John Gruden and the Las Vegas Raiders and everything that came to light there. And then to go from that and like what's come out about, the Washington football team and human thumb, Mark Davis, like just to place what's going on with Brian Flores in a larger context. It certainly shifts things in Brian Flores' favor, I think. Because it's not like NFL has a sterling record on this topic here.
Yeah, I think that again, Meko, thank you for breaking that down for us. I don't even know, I don't even know what to add right here. I mean, I think that I think the one thing we can add is supporting Brian Flores. I mean, he's definitely being true to himself, right? When we talk about him being questionable. Yeah. Right. Being true to himself and representing himself the best way he knows how. And he's just not standing for it. And he's going to fight back as he should. And so, we give him, huge props, huge shout out to him on that and standing up. You know how hard that has to be to make that decision, to stand up to the NFL just in general. Yeah. Power that they have, all these owners and all this BS. There's probably stuff that we will never know that he's had to deal with. Absolutely. Right. If we're, this is just the shit we're finding out. I'm sure there's other stuff like that he's like just not bringing up, right? That will maybe come up. I don't know.
Absolutely.
But I think that if this is what we're hearing, there's probably more. And, that sucks. And I'm sorry that he had to experience that and do this, but I'm glad that he is speaking up, speaking out, and taking it to the league, and is not going to stand for it. So again, to your point, hopefully, more conversations come out of this. Hopefully, this can, hopefully reset some things.
Yeah.
Or just start over again. Like, I don't know. I don't know what else to say.
No, I mean, like I said, I think to kind of put a bow on this, like we do, we hope that this leads to a brighter future, a future where this is not a topic of conversation ever again, that we never have to have a conversation about, was this person given a fair opportunity to occupy a position of power in the NFL? Hopefully this is the last time we have to have this type of conversation.
Yeah.
Well, I think, well, for what it's worth, I think you need to take hiring power. I mean, and it's exceedingly rare that this is going to happen, but I think you do need to take hiring power away from management, because it goes back to what Emmanuel Acho said. I mean, if you have management that's 96% white and players that are 78% African-American, like, I don't know. I think that the players, maybe through some sort of democratically chosen team captains, whatever, I feel like the players should have a voice in choosing their head coach. And I just think that power dynamic needs to be flipped. I think like that's the only way to, because like it's all power. I mean, that's, you can put end racism on as many helmets as you want, but until you flip the power dynamic, I don't think anything's actually going to like change in a positive direction. So I think you give players the power to hire their head coach instead of managers who, as Emmanuel Acho said, it's just you're going to fall into cronyism and nepotism, and guess who that benefits. But anyway,
no, I think that's a great point. And what I wanted to also say, like, I think
Hurricane coming through deep on that. What about they get the players to vote?
Well,
yeah, that would be sweet. Actually, they could pick really.
Well, you look at what the Lions did, right? And specifically in how they went about both their GM hire and their head coach hire, where they formed a committee. Now, it didn't necessarily consist of current players,
former players,
but it did consist of former.
Yep.
Right. They did bring in Barry Sanders and like the Lomas Browns and just other guys who understand like what this team means to this city, so that you get an honest evaluation. Right. And that is to what John is talking about. That is how you get outside of everything that you've been conditioned to think, or every way that you've been conditioned to evaluate. Bring in people with fresh ideas. I love the idea of putting together a committee, right, of your veteran leaders on the team,
right, that are going to have a voice for the players. The players can all have their votes, and but that group,
at least you can
get to say it's a seat at the table for the players,
even if you don't want to necessarily have them in the interview, but being able to review the interview process, right? Well, hey, I loved how he answered this. I think that I think he's being real when he talks about X, Y, and Z.
But when you do that, you get like a Dan Campbell.
You get a Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes combination,
and they changed the culture. They successfully changed the culture in one season, the most toxic culture in the past couple of years in the NFL.
And I think
that's just one example, but.
And we'll get into this a little bit more, but I want to because we're kind of talking about race right now, I want to be able to at least acknowledge this right now. In talking about the Lions, the NFC North is doing a really good job of this, in my opinion, of empowering minorities. You look at Brad Holmes is a black man who is the GM. The Minnesota Vikings just hired an African-American as their new GM. The Bears just hired Ryan Poles, who I believe is a person of color, right? So you're starting to see diversity at least show up in positions of power where you didn't always.
Yeah.
Right. It was also rare to see African Americans or minorities occupy GM roles. So you're starting to at least see that switch, which could again start to trickle down to the types of head coaches you see, or the type of assistants that you see be attached to these NFL teams.
Yeah, I didn't actually, when you put it that way, Meko, I didn't think about that. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I don't know. We'd have to go through the list of GMs, but I think you make a really good point. If I think that our division is doing a good job of that. That's actually good to hear. So until they hire Jim Harbaugh in Minnesota, which is fine with me.
Oh, we're going to talk about that too.
I mean, a lot of the talking heads on TV are saying this is great, and Harbaugh was great, and he did get San Francisco and flip. It was a bad culture, and he got him to the Super Bowl. But I love Harbaugh versus Dan Campbell so much better than Harbaugh versus Schwartz.
You think we get the handshake all over again?
Yeah, the other way.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. The other way, dude. Dan Campbell
powerbomb him. he would powerbomb him in the center of the field.
Yeah.
Guy tries to walk away. Dan Campbell grabs him by the scruff of his neck, just lifts him up with one hand and says, "Okay, we done here? Okay, now we're done. Now we're done." And drops him with one hand like a little rag doll. That's how that happens.
Oh, man.
Oh, gosh. You don't think Dan Campbell, woo, can't wait.
But speaking of which, I think that's like I said, that was a tough conversation to have and about Brian Flores. But I think to transition into more positive things that have happened in the NFL recently, we at least know who's going to play in the Super Bowl this year.
Right. We got to just touch on Stafford. Made it. He made it to the Super Bowl. Stafford's going.
Called it.
This is my favorite stat of all time. Matthew Stafford now has as many NFC championship wins as Aaron Rodgers.
Everybody's been saying that.
Feels so good.
It's my favorite. I know everyone's been saying it. We try to be different on this podcast, but it's my favorite. I love that stat.
It's the perfect dig at Aaron Rodgers right now.
It is, and he's about to retire. Now we can talk about that. I mean, people are saying Aaron Rodgers might go to Tampa. He go to Tampa Bay.
I mean, it's a possibility.
I don't know. I don't know that he goes anywhere. He might stay. Who knows?
I think Tampa Bay's going to be younger.
But Stafford, I want to touch on Stafford real quick. Everybody's talking about the Stafford thing, and there are people that are wearing split jerseys. I'm not sure about those people, but anyway, I think it's good for Stafford. I'm happy for Stafford. I don't care for Kelly and her outfits. She looked ridiculous in her onesie jean outfit with a puffy blue coat. Dude, it's like 75. What are you doing with a puffy coat in LA?
You're just jealous you can't pull it off.
100%. I mean, I do have a puffy coat and I can pull it off. And I'm not going to be able to pull off the tight jean overall jersey combination. It's I don't know. That was ridiculous. Anyways, but good for Stafford. I'm happy for him. I'm super sad for the Lions as an organization, the ownership. We look like fools. That couldn't really get it done with Stafford. He had good teams. We got to the playoffs. I mean, you could argue 2 of the games weren't his fault. 1 was his fault. And you could argue all this till the cows come home. It's just, I'm happy for him. It's a bad look for us. And now for 2 weeks, we have to deal with everybody asking about how does it feel to be in some important games now? And
yeah,
and it's that, and it's just something that I wish the ownership cared. I just don't think they care. At the end of the day,
I don't think they used to care. I think they care.
I don't. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I don't think William Clay cared. I don't think Martha cared. I think Sheila cares because I think Sheila, again, we've touched on this in the past.
Lions fans.
She competed at the college level, so I just think she's an athlete. And I think she knows what it means to be a competitor and, in a way that her mom and dad don't.
I'll agree with that. I think she wants to win. She wants to prove that she can run the team and win. So I'll agree with you there. I will give you that. She's in the room, right? She's in the room, right? The previous owners were not in the room when the guys were making decisions. She's in the room, getting hugs, getting lifted up by Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes. Yeah, I get that, and that's fine. And hopefully we continue moving forward. I think we are on a good path. We change the culture. It still hurts. You know what I mean? It's still bitter about it a little bit.
But this is the thing, though, right? It would have hurt either way, right? If it hurts because because he's going to the Super Bowl.
It also hurt. We lost 10 spots in the draft too.
But it would also hurt, though, if he went to LA and just bombed, because then people would be looking at us so you guys could have let go of him years ago and maybe not a better quarterback, but you guys stuck with this dude.
Yeah, but we knew he wasn't going to bomb. Well, right.
I knew he wasn't going to bomb.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good player, and you have to agree with the fact that Jared Goff is not going to win the games that Stafford won. I will give you that. I don't think Jared Goff wins.
Yeah, no. I'll admit that.
Right? Yeah. Like, I don't think Jared Goff. I think Stafford. And the other thing too is I didn't know that San Francisco wanted Stafford. So it's funny. It comes down to that game, San Francisco versus the Rams. It's like whoever got Stafford would have won that game. Now you could flip a coin, right? Because Tart drops it, Ramsey drops interception, and it's football. Sports happen. Yeah. But if Stafford is on San Francisco, that's a different game too. So many different things. But Stafford's on the Rams. He wins it. They have the Super Bowl at home. 2 Super Bowls in a row. Tampa Bay at home, LA Rams at home. First time that's ever happened.
Well, there's one more thing that we got to get to in this Rams game, and then I want to at least be able to give the Bengals their due.
Kelly Stafford. Jeez, oh Pete. She's got her own podcast now too.
Everybody has a podcast. That's why we're doing this.
Ours is better.
Well, of course.
The Questionable Podcast.
But one other thing that we got to talk about with this Rams game.
Kelly.
Am I the only one who walked away from that game like Sean McVay might be a little overrated as a head coach?
No, I'm with you. He did not know what he was doing. He was trying to throw. What was he doing? Like fourth quarter, no timeouts?
Bro, this looked like
challenges, you mean?
Yeah.
He lost all his timeouts. How many? There was 7 minutes left and he was out of timeouts?
Listen, he was doing some Jim Caldwell type challenges. Like these challenges made no sense whatsoever.
And then he argued with got the players a rest,
Like, bro, you were grasping at straws.
That's why he thanked the first people he thanked at the end. You got to congratulate the players. Well, yeah, because they won despite you.
Yes, they won in spite of
Matthew Stafford. Now, and I will say, Colin Cowherd had an interesting point today. I was going to send you guys the clip, and I didn't. But Colin said that Matthew, through all of the obstacles and challenges in Detroit, he was built in order to handle that moment.
Dan Orlovsky said the same thing.
Oh, okay. So Colin probably got it from Orlovsky, maybe,
or just
but that's a good. So I didn't know Orlovsky said that, but everything he experienced, all the bad coaching, all that, he was able to shake his head like, oh, just another day in the office. My coach is doing these ridiculous things. I just got to go down and win this game, right? Yeah. Like that's what he's had to do, is deal with all these obstacles and not freak out.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's different when Goff needs everything to be perfect for him to do it. This was like a totally not perfect situation. McVay, who's typically known for being pretty smart and pretty on it, was lost his mind because he cannot coach against Shanahan. And Stafford had to just rally the troops and do that. And Aaron Donald rallied the defense.
Yeah.
Typically for a guy who sits on the sideline, Aaron Donald got up and he got his team together. I've never seen him do that. He's typically like sitting on the, sitting like, I'll just change the game myself. But he got everybody on the same page. And that was what changed the game. And they flipped it and they won the game and they deserved to win that game. Yeah. So I will give them that. But yes, McVay it was ridiculous.
Aaron Donald had a Kevin Hart moment where Kevin Hart has a stand up where he talks about where he goes to his friends and he's like, help me. Like that is what Aaron Donald was doing with his defense. I'm getting triple teamed. Help me. So I don't have to go home early. But
it's 3 guys on me. Do something.
Well, can somebody just brush his shoulder when you run by him? Like,
right.
But Sean McVay 100% looked like a dude that had been already beaten by this coach 6 times in a row.
Yep. And about to be 7. And Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp is a fucking cheat code. I'm sorry. He's a fucking cheat code. He's the up, down, left, right, AB select start. Like that is Cooper Kupp cheat code. Dude is,
those routes are nasty.
They're ridiculous. And I think Orlovsky did say this is like, Jeremy said this. I think Jeremy said this. He was saying same guys as last year, but what are they? Same guys as last year. What's different?
You got a guy that'll put it on you.
That's Stafford. So it is. So props to him and putting it on and getting these guys like OBJ looked like he was done in Cleveland, like lost a step, looked like he was done. He looks like the old OBJ in New York, making those catches, making these game-changing plays. Cooper Kupp had 4 catches. I'm going to butcher this stat, but he had basically his last 4 catches were all third down catches from like drive saving catches.
Mm-hmm.
And the one he did drop, I will remember this forever because it was epic. And Matthew Stafford, I think he used to do this, or he said he did, is whenever he throws it to one of his main guys and they drop it, he throws it right to him again, no matter what. So they get that catch and they get it out of their system. And so basically Stafford threw a dime, but like a yard away. So Cooper Kupp dives parallel, outstretched parallel. One of the most amazing catches I've seen this season, just for like a, like first and 10, just with like outstretched. It was unbelievable. I'm like, okay, like OBJ's wide open for a touchdown. It's like, no, I had to get it to Kupp.
Yeah.
That was to me like, oh, there's Stafford. Sorry, but that was interesting, Cooper Kupp, cheat code.
Like I said, and that is why I think their matchup with the Bengals is going to be so interesting.
Bengals have a chance, man. You got me on the Bengals train now. I bet against them. That was stupid. They're a team. They're a team.
Yeah.
Behind Burrow, they are a team that like they believe in themselves.
Get in here, John, because I can see you.
Yeah, get in, Hurricane.
This is what when we were talking about the Red Wings. Like what the Red Wings are missing is an identity.
Yeah.
And I think like the Bengals have that. Like the Bengals have one. And like they may not have the best O-line. They, as evidenced by Burrow's he got nine sacks. Took 9 sacks, but they find a way.
Mm-hmm.
Because they are all pulling in the same direction. And I think like that's like the power of a team that's fully bought in. Like the Rams are just an incredible collection of talent. Just hands down an unreal collection of talent. The Bengals, incredible quarterback, incredible elite all caps wide receiver in Ja'Marr Chase. And
a great number 2 in T. Higgins.
And a great number 2 in T. Higgins. But I think that just like a group of guys that have all bought in and that are all pulling in the same direction. And I think you're seeing the power in that. I couldn't be happier with this Super Bowl matchup. I don't know who, like I said, I should have gone with who I wanted. Because I wanted the Bengals to win. But I mean, the Chiefs, like, how are you going to go against that in that moment? But
I did. I don't parlay, and I did, and I won a couple bucks because I did. I went both ways. You guys convinced me to go the other way, so I bet both ways. Won.
But yeah, like but that's the Bengals. An incredible showing. And I like to that, just the point about Stafford. I think like that's when I kind of knew they were going to win that game, was when Stafford started throwing those just lasers.
Right. When he starts throwing those dimes, when he
starts like 70-mile-an-hour passes.
Yeah. They're straight. There's no arc. It's just straight at you. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and then I was like, oh, they're going to win this game. But yeah, I just like, it's good. It's such a fun matchup, I think.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad. And just talking about generational shifts and where this is all going, that this is what the first Super Bowl, or the first, I think, or maybe it was the championship. Either way, the first one in 12 years that didn't have either Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady playing in it. I mean, we got, Brady retiring, Rodgers probably retire. I mean, and now we're just
or to another team.
We're seeing this new Mahomes, Allen, Joe Burrow. I mean, it's a dawn of a new
changing of the guard.
Exactly.
We're watching it. Exactly. So yeah, I think the Bengals have a real shot here. Now, everyone's going to talk about the O-line for the Bengals, but I think that they can scheme ways around it. I just think you're in trouble with Von Miller and Donald. I think that's a problem.
Yeah, I think going back to something that John was pointing out about this, like being a team that's bought in, you saw that you can see evidence of the buy-in and of good coaching when the previous week against the Titans, you give up 9 sacks. You go against the Chiefs, you give up like 1 or 2. Like, that's
great point. Yeah.
That's coaching and going to your guys, be like, hey, we cannot go to Kansas City and play like this. You got to run that tape back again, though, and be like, hey, we cannot play like this.
Right. Now, having said that, Meko, did the Chiefs win? Or sorry, did the Bengals win or did the Chiefs lose it?
I am a firm,
this is an actually interesting point here.
I am a firm believer that the Chiefs lost it. And it really came down to, I believe if you go back and you watch that game, Patrick Mahomes was pressing and he was like panicking in his delivery and how he was navigating the pocket. Like I've never seen Patrick Mahomes look like this.
Too much pressure.
And
it got to him for the first, this season, the pressure kind of got to him.
This is the second time they've lost to them after leading big. And I think that game probably crept in the back of his mind and he was like, I can't do this again. Joe Burrow's over there getting hot. I got to win it. And I think he was pressing. I told you guys he
tried to hero ball. He tried to force a play to Tyreek Hill, who in my opinion did not make a great play on that ball, on that pass. He let the ball come to him and he didn't go to the ball. When he went up to catch it, he was going back. He didn't go towards the ball. I feel like 6 inches and he could have been there first before the defender. That's why the defender got there.
But this is why I think they lost it, because Patrick Mahomes on that drive in overtime was playing to win the game as if if you go out there and at least go out there and punt it,
get a field goal at least.
Right. Like you just needed to, it's another quarter. He was playing like he had to score right then and there.
Right.
And it's like you didn't have to, go to fourth down, punt it deep, and then trust your defense to stop them. But that's why, in my opinion, the Chiefs lost this game as much. And I hate saying that because it does feel like it takes a little bit of credit away from Cincinnati. But
no, it doesn't though. It's at home in Kansas City against one of the top offenses still. Even when they're not 100%, they're still one of the top, most talented offenses in the NFL.
Yeah. John, what do you think?
I think so. It's tough. I think because you had sent that text that likening Mahomes' performance to Josh Allen a couple years ago, where he just tried to do way too much and came up short. It just tried to go hero mode and didn't have it. Couldn't do it. That said, you'd like to think Mahomes, for all the accolades and praise he gets, he should have, because I feel like Mahomes is going to be the new, again, this whole changing of the guard thing. I think Mahomes is going to be he's going to be the next Aaron Rodgers in terms of no one shuts up about him, and they just constantly what was it that game?
Super Bowl.
What's that?
So, but only has one Super Bowl. He's gonna have all.
I don't know. I wasn't really going about that. I was just talking about
does Ben Roethlisberger have 2 Super Bowls?
I think he has 3.
I thought 3. There was a stretch there in the aughts where they were there. They had 5 or 4 or 5.
Yeah, I think he has.
So real quick, John, to your point, the over under after Mahomes won his first Super Bowl was 1.5 Super Bowl. He's Vegas didn't even bet him for another Super Bowl, which is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Mm-hmm. Because this team is not going to be able to stay together. What is Kelsey? These guys are going to have to go their own way. No, or Mahomes is going to have to restructure his contract in order to not get money to keep the team together. They probably got one more season together.
Either that or the league is going to have to start making considerably more money that increases the salary cap of everybody. That's kind of what started happening in the NBA.
Right. And Andy Reid is not going to coach forever. He's getting,
that might be the only way Eric Bieniemy gets a job.
And maybe that's what Andy Reid does. Maybe that's what that would be good though. No,
that'd be a great that would be a great gesture to bow out and be like, hey, hire this guy. Don't go do a whole hire this dude.
Yeah,
man. It's going to be interesting. Like we all said, I think this is going to be a really fun Super Bowl. Do we want to pick games now, or do we want to wait until the week before the Super Bowl?
I think we got to wait.
Okay. I know who I'm picking. My pick. I'm picking the Rams. I've been on this train already. I'm gonna ride it to the end.
I think that,
but I'm not
my emotion. I'm picking Bengals. I want the Bengals to win. I want the Bangies to win.
Yeah, trust me.
Who day?
I don't feel great about it.
Who did?
Like if I could back out of picking at all, like I would do one of those. Like I just can't pick. But
no, I think if I'm betting with cash, I'm betting Rams all day long.
Oh, I would never bet with cash at all. Like this is
I get it, but like
no, I mean this is a game that would scare me from betting cash. Like,
no, I bet I would bet the Rams all day long. But I just think that I would like to see the Bengals win. They got something about them, right? They have a little bit of edge, and they're like quote unquote not supposed to be there. They're the underdogs, and sometimes, right, the underdog they just don't care.
Yeah,
there's no pressure on them to win. They're just showing up. There's no pressure for them to win. There's all the pressure in the world on the Rams to win at home.
Yeah,
that's one thing I think that'll come up to. I think the line is like 7 right now. It'll come down. It'll come down to 4. Probably.
So do you think we're going to get yet another post game if the Bengals win? They're like, oh, the Lions gave us the model of how to beat the Rams. Like they're doing fake punts, they're doing onside kicks.
Well, oh my gosh, that'd be hysterical.
This is where Zach Taylor is going to really have to show himself as a coach, right? Like, can you? Because you don't have to, right?
Yeah, but can you even trust McVay after his last showing?
Oh, I don't.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like he did not that.
Listen,
can I challenge?
Listen,
they stepped on a line. Can I challenge that?
This game, I expect it to be. I expect it to be high scoring. I expect it to be just because these teams they honestly kind of play the same, right? You have amazing receivers on the outside with, I would pick Cincinnati's running back over Cam Akers right now, just because Cam Akers, I still think he's working his way back from that injury.
Agree,
but these two teams are very similar offensively. Defensively, now, yeah. If Aaron Donald's Aaron Donald, like that's I think that's where the game shifts.
Correct. I think the D line, I think that Donald is going to have to he's going to have to get to Burrow when he can. And if he can, that's a problem. And I worry about Burrow getting hurt. If they come after him, I worry
both. I worry both of these guys, right? Both of these guys. Now, I think this is a game where Matthew Stafford is going to be tough as hell in this game.
Oh, he will play with broken bones like he did in that other.
Could be facing backwards, and he's like,
nope. Tape it together. Tape it. Anybody got a staple gun?
Give me that crutch. I can't use that. Fine, I will play.
Correct
from this chair. Shotgun all game.
Yeah. So I think just as a human rooting for Stafford for so many years, right? I would like to see him win. Right, like that would be cool. Like to see a guy like just feel like that we've rooted for him. I've been a Stafford fan. He's a good quarterback,
good guy, good teammate.
Yeah, nice guy. I don't like Kelly, but so I think that it'd be cool to see him win one. Right.
Yeah, I think that's the great thing about the Super Bowl. I think no matter who wins, it's a great story either way.
But Burrow coming in, like Burrow winning a Super Bowl, only 2 years removed after winning with LSU.
Yeah, no. If Joe Burrow wins, I mean, I feel like the AFC is already kind of on notice. The AFC North is definitely on notice. If you're Lamar Jackson, this kid just came into your division and took his team to the Super Bowl. Now, granted, he was hurt for a good portion of it, but it still happened.
Lamar's been getting hurt the past 2 seasons, so
style of play, man.
Right. So he's RG3 too.
Well,
get it.
RG3.
See what I did there? See what I did there?
Like RG3 squared. I probably would have.
It's fine. It's fine.
It's fine.
I like what I did. But that was great. That was really a great start talking about the Super Bowl. We got a couple weeks to talk about that. We had other things we wanted to get to too, guys. We had the NFC North taking shape, talking about the Bears, the Vikings, Rodgers' decision, and how it impacts the Lions and what and how it affects the division. So we can talk about that next week. We can talk also the Senior Bowl. We can talk about that. Malik Willis and Tolbert.
I got some guys.
And, Jermaine Johnson, Roger McCreary. I think next week I'd have to get some some clips from the East-West Bowl from Key and Peele.
Oh man,
Hinkle McCrinkleberry. Sorry, like the McCreary. There's one of the guys that I think has the name McCreary. It's like McCreary.
Roger McCreary sounds like a golfer though.
Anyway,
supposedly, like he has like one of the weirdest like pregame meals. They were like talking about the NFL Network. I didn't get to like catch it because I was on my way here. But like, yeah, apparently he has a really weird like pregame meal.
I can't wait to find out more about these guys. But anyway, that's all for this week. The Questionable Podcast. Scotty Questions here. I just want to thank you guys for being here tonight. This was a good show. Appreciate it. This is the first one I think we're doing video for. So these videos are going to be going live. We're going to put them on YouTube, and then we're going to start doing some lives as we get rolling here.
Yeah,
on the coming months, this spring, probably start going live. Hopefully, ideally, that would be fun. But anyway, so video. Please like, follow, and subscribe us on social. Please rate and review wherever you listen to podcasts. And again, I just want to thank my wife and my daughter upstairs. I want to thank my family. I want to thank the crew. Thank you guys, everybody supporting the Questionable Mission. And in all of our ventures, right? We got, we're working really hard. Meko and I went through our apparel. We got a bunch of apparel for the spring, for the golf outings, for the new fashion stuff, lineup for the spring. We're really excited. So again, thank everybody for the support in everything we're doing here. We're really making moves. So Meko.
Yeah. Obviously got to thank my wife, my daughters. Thank you guys. Special thank you guys for being able to have this conversation with me today about Brian Flores. That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like you said, Scotty, like this is what it means to be questionable, to be able to be true to ourselves and to kind of push the boundaries and have difficult conversations at times. But also thank you to everybody, like Scott said, that's been supporting us and, checking out the podcast, sharing the podcast. We're super excited to get this up on YouTube so you guys can actually watch it and be able to give you guys clips from the show. So if you can't watch the entire show, you'll at least be able to have bits and pieces to watch.
Why is there playing? Anyway, Gionne, West Coast. Right? He's got a screening tonight. He won't tell us the movie, so we're just gonna have to find out when he posts about it on social.
First and foremost, thank my very patient wife who waited for me to eat dinner.
Hi, Rachel.
But yeah, so very generous. I thank you guys for having these conversations and to thank our listeners.
Absolutely. And don't forget to thank Mittens over there. I heard Mittens.
She was in heaven. That's anytime. So for those viewing, anytime when you saw me like this, or I was tending to a cat. So
awesome. All right. Well, appreciate it, guys. Appreciate everybody. All right. This is the Questionable Podcast. Out.